Here we are.
Let's see how many more dad noises I can make on the way down.
Yeah, the mysterious part, well, we'll get into it.
Okay. And go.
So the mysterious part of this island, I don't know if if anything ever happened with that. Like, don't get me wrong, it was mysterious. And there were plenty of mysterious things happening. And a lot of people were asking questions about those mysterious things.
And the funny part is like a lot of what is mysterious in this film is like added in by Harryhausen to make it a good motion picture for stop motion dynamation. I think the original book is just like how to live on a deserted island.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Captain Nemo happens to be there.
It was a crazy ride, but it suffers from all the things all the old movies we have watched suffer from. The same long-winded, like, oh, we're walking, here's a long shot of this. But something about this made it palatable.
Yeah. Harryhausen's, when I say Harryhausen, I mean, his whole Charles Schneer thing, his partnership with him and how they made movies and so on. They always at least, they never get name stars for the most part, but they always get competent actors.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was our weird thing happening. This was The Land Unknown competently done.
And the volcano blows up this time.
And the volcano blows up. That's the thing. We have stakes and payoff, and the animals, even though, they look ridiculous and are more or less run-of-the-mill things. Aside from the terror bird, you have a giant crab. We've seen crabs. You've got giant bees. We've seen bees.
And the giant,
the ammonite.
Ammonite, which is kind of a cephalopod?
Yeah, right. It's what octopuses were before they were too haughty for their shells.
I don't need this show anymore.
So seeing all those things, I was like, oh. And our dumb character isn't too dumb. Our doctor character, who's actually a writer.
Our coward character learns the error of his ways.
Yeah, everybody has an arc.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah.
Except for maybe our captain. I don't think our captain...
Yeah, no, he's just Captain Stoic the whole time.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just sort of comes in and stoically dictates...
Delivers his lines.
Yeah.
And then he delivers the dialogue. And then he delivers the narration. And he will give it an uptick. And then we will go back to the narration.
Yeah, he was an interesting character, and I mean that outside of the movie. I think he's probably a weirdo in real life in some way, form, or fashion, because he does seem like he just sort of... he was the only one not being a character, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's so busy being stoic.
He's like, I'm here to be whatever. And even the females of the picture, which in this time period hardly ever happens, are completely fleshed out.
Yeah.
Maybe not completely. The aunt has way more than the...
Yeah, she's got a bit of an arc. She starts off as like the typical stuffy upper class Brit character who is an idiot, and
she kind of falls off. You know what I mean?
She becomes kind of forgotten, but she becomes more useful and less of a drag.
Does she though? Because I was thinking
she made the best dress I have ever seen in my life because there was more panty shots in this movie than some hentai cartoons.
We got a little hornswoggled though. Because, we're in the island that Mean forgot. Everybody's super nice to each other, which is fine.
And nobody died.
No, it's a nice
story. No, I take that back.
Nemo
dies.
Nemo dies. Spoiler alert, Nemo dies. But by the time you see him, he's only in the movie for 8 minutes anyway, so it's not like a killing blow. But our ladies, especially the older lady, our aunt, she's like, I'm the best horse rider, I'm the best shooter. She's like basically building up these skills.
She never gets to shoot.
And I'm thinking, but she does shoot. I will refresh your memory. So, as the pirates are coming in,
she drops a gun.
Yes. So even though our stoic captain, everybody around him is holding a rifle, he says, ladies, get those guns ready. For what? We've all got guns. So she's like, oh no, I've forgotten I'm competent and I'm a bumbling woman. Kapow! And everything goes pear-shaped. But for such a small time, this movie as long as it takes for them to walk places or to look at things, it's breakneck. Because the pirates last 4 minutes?
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting point. You have an awful lot of things that could have been
Fleshed.
dragged out, or fleshed, depending on, the competency of the writing.
Yeah, take that 10 minutes of them climbing up the mountain and give me 10 minutes of backstory of the dude killed by the pirates who then later show up.
Right, or more fighting pirates or whatever. I will say this, though, at least, for the fact that Captain Nemo doesn't show up until literally an hour into the picture. He is at least name dropped before then, so it's not a huge surprise.
Right, it is. But by then I totally forgot. I had 100% forgotten because I felt like one of the characters because they say
that dude died.
We're on this island. The Nautilus is gone. It's been 8 years. This is a chest of his crap, coincidentally. So, whatever. Sorry, Nemo. So when he shows up later, I was like, oh, yeah. They did find a trunk of his old junk.
He stopped brushing that coif long enough to give them some rifles.
What a beautiful head of hair, number one. Number two, the beard, immaculate. Because he's the only man who can grow a beard where the tips are automatically frosted. If you were able to see...
No, I was looking...
The tips of the beard frosted. Underneath, he's still growing a black beard. But whatever. But now that you bring him up, he's the unseen hand of the picture.
Yeah.
Because he's stepping into hell.
He's literally like the Deus Ex Machina.
Yes. And so then he's not a completely useless character.
Right.
During the whole wrap up, and from his introduction on, I'm thinking, okay, what's gonna happen? Like we established early on, we don't have the money to fix the Nautilus. I mean, the Nautilus is broken in the movie, and we don't have the money to make some action shots of it, or whatever. So
not even listing, can't see a hole. Everything looks great. It's more immaculate than my mother's cleaning her living room, but no, that can't sail. It's not going anywhere.
In a
what
world,
are you, stupid.
In a world where a cannonball can blow open a pirate ship, and then within a matter of minutes, you take one plank of wood underwater,
pre-painted.
It wasn't even pre-painted. We saw it raw. He painted it under the water.
It's good paint.
It was incredible, and that's the thing. It feels like the pacing issue. If we were going to remake another movie after Dinosaurus, it's going to be this one. Because we need to cut out...
Well, there's plenty of versions of this movie out there, but this is probably still the best.
Right. That's why I'm saying we need to work from this one.
Yeah.
We need to work from this one.
Oh, yeah.
Leave everything that's good. Cut out all the walking, Okay, here's Mysterious Island. Let's talk about that for a second. It's a mysterious island. So the first mystery is, look at these giant clams. Let's eat these giant clams. That's it.
There's giant things.
Here's a mystery. Where do you think these giant clams came from? Mystery one. Posed to the audience and the viewers and everybody in the
What
film.
do you folks think at home? What could be the mystery of Mysterious Island?
And it's nothing. Or it's never solved. Because it's like, well, how do you think every time something...
Well, I really don't want to be a part of this crew, Captain.
Are you sure? You should be a part.
You're right.
There we
You're
go.
right. I should be a part of the crew.
I should be a captain. But that's it. It's like every time a mystery shows up, you whether it be a terror bird, a giant crab, a nautilus. By the end of the...
It's a fumble, but it does keep things moving.
Right. But don't call it Mysterious Island. Yeah, it is mysterious. I get that. But the mystery...
I don't know, giant fucking bees are kind of mysterious until you learn who made the bees.
But then the mystery is this. Oh gosh, a giant bee. How do you think that happened? And the answer is... I don't know.
Yeah.
Mystery solved. Swish. But whatever. It's kind of like a... It is kind of like a Deus Ex Machina. Like, if you take out all the zany crap, this is essentially like a Bible story for kids.
Kinda, yeah.
But maybe that's why it's so enjoyable, because the characters are so...
It's very pure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's pure enjoyment, I want to say, but I don't know how to describe it, because...
It does take it a little while to get moving. You have to get past... escaping the camp
It's a slow
and all the
burn.
balloon
It's a
stuff.
slow burn,
Yeah. But once they're on the island, things really start to pick up.
It is very Guanji in that
Yeah.
we're building a lot of worlds that we're
Probably
not
the
going
same
to...
screenwriter.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
but we spend a lot of time building a world in which we are not going to live in.
Yeah. It's a little light on monster action compared to some Harryhausen films, in a way.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
Because overdoing it is too much, and not having enough is
He's
awful.
good at, he's really good at timing, isn't he? It's like it's like really the 5-minute chicken fight. No, we're not doing the 5-minute chicken fight.
With
We're doing a
Harryhausen-
3-minute chicken fight.
With Harryhausen, he knows exactly where the threshold is.
Yeah.
Because
And-
right when you start to get antsy, right when you're being like, okay, we've seen enough of this, even before that, 10 seconds before that, he says, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
You don't even get a chance to be like, you don't even get the feeling.
How are they going to get out? Oh, that's how they got out of that.
Yeah. You don't say, this is too long. How is this going to play out? It's just long enough. The crab is just long enough. The crab is the longest one.
Yeah, actually, I think it is.
And it's the most unremarkable monster because it's simply a crab.
Yeah. Kind of want to look up some production photos now of the squid dude. 'Cause
Right.
It's kind of a neat looking critter.
All of them were really well done.
Yeah. So what did you say the chicken was supposed to be?
A terror bird.
Okay.
So
it's like a prehistoric.
Yeah. So we're the mysterious part of this island.
So we're saying that Nemo essentially like found a mosquito in amber and dug into it and was like, this is the chicken I'm making.
I mean, possibly, but then where did the crab come from and the giant bees?
Well, he made them. He was making giant things to make food for humanity. So in large
so
amounts,
when we were
right.
watching, I just thought that because I mentioned during the screening,
Right.
I was like, his idea is to come to an island where giant things are.
Right,
and
yeah,
take
like
them.
I don't know if his original idea was to like bring the scrolls and the couple of beakers, and the giant chicken and the giant bees
So-
and everything onto the boat or what?
It's another bummer of something that wasn't.
Quite fleshed out enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a bone there. There was a beautiful stew bone of Captain Nemo making giant monsters that are delicious.
Yeah.
Because, and not for nothing, I say they're delicious because they eat all of them. It's the only monster
True,
movie.
the through line is humans eat everything.
Yes, the only through line and the moral of every story is like, when you kill something, use it, right?
We didn't even see the scene where they eat the pirates.
Right, they eat the pirates, they eat the crab, they eat the clams, they eat the honey from the bees.
Right.
Everything is used.
They obviously ate that one chick's dress.
Yeah, they scarfed it down because
Yeah.
it was made out of fruit roll-ups. But that's the only thing they don't eat is the ammonite at the end, and simply out of necessity. Like
Right. They just didn't have time to
Yeah.
drag it aboard the boat.
It's like when you're
The shell is really heavy.
right.
It's like a rock underwater.
You're on your way, like, you're going to a family get together or something, you're heading out the door and you're like, oh no, there's a roast in the oven. You gotta garbage. Like, you don't have time to deal with the roast. That was our ammonite. So as they're going away, they're like, I bet, as you see in the last shot, and they're sailing away, the writer was like,
We forgot the ammonite.
he's probably thinking, oh, I wonder what that baby tasted like. He's like, we forgot to bring food and we left 14 tons of calamari on the ocean floor.
Talk about setup and payoff, though. It's like, hey, we have an electric gun. Why? Because we can? No. We need something to shoot the ammonite in the face.
Right.
Later.
And that's all you need as far as setup. Like, I think when people maybe get this from an outside perspective, they say, well, setup and payoff takes so much time, Dave. It takes so much time.
No, it really doesn't.
Zero
It's
time.
kind of storytelling 101.
There are 2 points where we get to see what's happening and everything is cut that is unnecessary. The first is the introduction of the space gun. It's just one of them is holding it, and the VO says, Nemo, let us borrow his space gun.
Right.
The end.
His amazing electric gun.
And then we see him shoot a little thing with it, and they go, okay, that's how it works. The same thing happens with the squid, the ammonite, this giant cephalopod, is like, you see its eye, it's wigging out, and then before you know it, there's no creeping of
Yeah, no,
tentacles. It's just one guy's grabbed.
Right. It's dead. Do you suppose, like, the whole time, like, the secret of this motion picture, the secret of the story here, as you kind of rightly pointed out, is that Nikola Tesla was actually in another chamber of the boat, hanging out with a whole bunch of pigeons, and he just didn't want to talk to anybody.
Right. It was so like, this movie was the Patchwork Man, right? It's not anybody's whole baby. We have Harryhausen stuff,
We have Jules Verne stuff.
the Jules Verne stuff,
Right.
we have the Disney assets that are being used.
Right, we have the Teslanomics.
Tesla, yeah, and that's the thing. You want to keep thinking this is a Disney movie. I kept wanting to think this is a Disney production.
That's always something that's. I mean, I've watched the special features on this movie a lot of times. This has been a favorite of mine since I was a little kid.
Right.
But Harryhausen seems to go out of his way when he was interviewed about this to say, well, you know, the Nautilus and Captain Nemo, that had been done in a certain motion picture, and we wanted to do it differently. And I'm like, sorry, it looks almost exactly like the Disney boat, and Herbert Lom is obviously supposed to be an older James Mason. If you wanted to do it different, do the book, where Nemo was actually Indian in the books.
Yeah, but that was the thing. It's the patchwork.
It's
man.
very westernized.
It's not only westernized, but it's piecemeal.
Yeah.
It's a beautifully running car, but it's part Cadillac, part Escort, part El Camino. But it all works.
Yeah, they got the bolt holes to fit, so it's okay.
Everything fit, despite all the odds.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, too. When you see this car coming down the road, it looks like it's coming out of Toontown.
Yeah.
There's your Disney shit. Like, every
that actually looks kind of cool.
And it'll get you. Because I wanted to be angry at every pirate looking like Smee. They all have Smee's hat, they have Smee's vest, they went to Smee's closet, cleaned it out, and got on this ship. And I was like...
It's a visual of naked Smee that I didn't need, thanks.
Yeah, we didn't need all the naked Smees. And then, you know, Smee's flying in every direction when the cannonball's going out.
And not a single Smee who could swim.
No! You'd think the first thing you teach a Smee.
Right.
Swimming.
That sounds like a Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah.
What to teach a Smee.
Swimming, number 1. Rigging, number 2. That boat also had 0 sails.
Yeah.
It's a weird time to be a pirate, I imagine.
Yeah.
They had one thing.
They just relied on the wind blowing the flag.
Yeah, they were just like, you know what? Let go and let Mothman, they said. He wasn't a thing yet, but they were still quoting him. Yeah, it's good for what it is.
Yeah.
It's nice, it's popcorn, it's fun.
It's very popcorn.
But the disclaimer is watch out for the slow burn.
Yeah.
Watch out for the jarring shifts to slow moving, looking at a pipe.
Yeah. Although he does, you know, for all that, when it's time to have a moment, it's still dramatic.
I think that's part of what it works.
Yeah.
All the soft, boring stuff.
Right. I mean, one minute everybody's like, look, geysers, look, we can go fishing. Holy shit, giant crab.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in most of the movies we see, those boring parts are buttressed by boring action.
Yeah.
And so you see
just not quite working. Yeah.
So I'm fine with the boring, like walking or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't prolonged by any means. But since
there was nice locations.
Yes. Since the action was good, the locations were good, the effects were good, everything was good. Those valleys of boring walking,
palatable.
Yeah. Because you know that there's a buttress on the other side of a giant crab or a giant something that somebody's going to have.
Harryhausen never lets you down that way. You know, you know something else is coming. You're never like, oh, we never got something else showing up towards the end. No, he always gives you something. And even then, like, again, piecemeal. It's like, it's a sunken city, so there should be...
We totally forgot that Atlantis and Egypt is in this movie. Yeah, you have to see it. Like, there's no way to go over it unless you have to, like, break apart every scene. Because if you think about it, it's like the Civil War, race relations, politics, and that's in the first 3 minutes.
Right.
And then you've got the sunken city of Atlantis. You've got Nemo,
Captain Nemo trying to save humanity after trying to destroy it.
Ancient and contemporary giant things running around.
Yeah.
There is so much going on that while you're watching it, it's so easy to be like, what?
And that's kind of a cool thing about somebody like Harryhausen's, like the Asylum would just be what's cheap. We can either just have a giant octopus or we can mash up a sharktopus.
Yeah.
Whereas Harryhausen was like, if we did an ancient cephalopod, this would be the place.
And that's the thing. It was just a lot of what it was when you're looking at it was just set dressing.
Yeah.
But it was
done
right.
Yeah, his setups for these films were literally like things that he wanted it was his sandbox. I want to do this. And so he would do these glorious drawings of these set pieces of things to do, just like the Willis O'Brien's crew did for King Kong. It's like, here's a these are master scenes.
You can tell these are choreographed within an inch of their life.
Right, and in terms of how we do an amazing effect sequence that wows people in between the valleys, and then he's literally giving it to a scriptwriter who's like, patch these together.
And that's where you can fall apart, though, because if
and somehow he always had the right crew.
Yeah. For some reason, Harryhausen's like, whatever, let go, and no matter what, I've never heard of any of these people before. I don't know them from Adam, but I'm
sure at least 3 of them are in some British television from the 60s.
Yeah. But that's what you need. What you need is a bunch of people you don't know coming out of the woodwork to do these things and being competent.
Yeah.
You don't want B-grade actors giving you C-grade material in front of a guy in a costume. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. It's always elevated by these guys. They know what they knew what they were doing, and they knew how to bring it.
Even remove all the monsters. Take the Lost element out of it altogether, and it's just these people hanging out on an island trying to survive, and then Nemo shows up. Totally fine too.
Yeah.
Because again, here's another Disney connection. When they pull open that chest and we see the Swiss Family Robinson.
Right.
Like, if you're over a certain age, you're thinking, oh yeah, the tree in the middle of Disneyland, which is now Tarzan.
Right.
But it was just like, it was a movie that you were watching next to someone, like maybe it was like Goofy from the Disney franchise sitting next to you. And there's no Disney in the movie you're watching necessarily, but Goofy is sitting next to you, and every 10 minutes or so he pulls off his glove and he slaps you in the face with it. Like, it's a hilarious bit of slapstick comedy, and it's a Disney thing, so you go, whoa!
You could really drop a reference here.
Yeah. And then you go back to the movie of just like being in the situation where all the Disney element is gone. And you're like, okay, we're back to reality. But then it'll break away to be like, dee dee dee, Smee pirates, and we're all 7 dwarves and all this.
It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's budgeted. Mm-hmm. It's time budgeted. It's effects budgeted. Everything about it is how do you budget it out? How do you break it apart so that it does this?
It's perfectly proportioned.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They were able to take the running time and the dollar that they had and stretch them perfectly.
Yeah.
And we hardly see that.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to me that, if you are going to have a little bit of a budget, save it for the end, right?
Yeah.
But we see so many movies where they throw the money up on screen very fast.
Yeah.
Because they want to hook
you.
Idiots who don't see what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you just take that same thing and put it at the end, 9 times out of 10, you forget that the first part sucked.
Yeah.
I forgot Atlantis was in this movie because it's so crazy.
No, he lets other elements of filmmaking hook you. A great score is at least driving, this whole escape sequence, even though it's really not the best part of the movie.
In any other hands, I would have been completely distracted by the fact that it's taking place during the Civil War. We have characters from both sides of the conflict and a man of color.
Yeah.
So in our modern day context, I was expecting like, here's going to be a bunch of acceptable old-timey racism.
Yeah.
But everybody's fucking cool.
Yeah, it sidesteps it really nicely. Not in a forgiveness. Yeah, not in a forgiveness sort of way, right?
Yeah, it's not like, we're in this situation, so I'm looking the other way, boy, because we're blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's just like, in this situation, we're all humans.
Yeah.
Like, we have, by the time they get to the island, they've spared and saved each other's lives multiple times.
Right.
Because our Confederate dude, who's probably my favorite character, full honesty.
Just because he has an accent.
Not only that, but he's just like, you expect him to be the heel. You expect him to be the shit heel, because he's the one guarding the balloon they escape on. And they, for, a very strong moment, say, okay, we're dumping this dude at 30,000 feet. They say, we don't need this rancid piece of crap. We're on the right side of the war. But then they go, well, what if we need him, and he's a human, and you'd feel pretty bad, and like, you can't, Luke, that's a far drive.
I love that bit. It's like, that's a long way down.
Yeah, and they go, humanity wins every time.
Yeah.
Everybody's goodness comes out. Even the Civil War dude.
Right.
him and the guy of color, everybody are dancing.
Well, even to the
singing,
point,
there's
to the point where our stoic captain is kind of raising more than an eyebrow and he and the older lady are raising an eyebrow at Nemo for killing all the pirates,
Right.
which is totally in Nemo's character. That's Nemo's MO.
Yeah.
Kill war makers. So,
that's the weird thing about this movie, man. It's all these people from all these walks of life, and since it's not an American production, maybe that's the
it's like one of those co-productions. It's like Schneer and Harryhausen were American dudes, and they already had like deals usually with Columbia or whoever it was.
Yeah.
Right. But they also knew that they could save money and get a free vacation out of shooting abroad.
Right. and that culture, no matter how much you try and disconnect and tell me these are Americans, that culture is still there.
Yeah.
So that warmth is sort of there.
Right.
That's why it's a great movie in that respect too, because you're waiting
Unless,
for
of course,
that.
you're the old lady who at one point is like, I do not wish to talk to you anymore.
But it's completely
I would like-
written in that
Yes,
way.
yeah, it totally
And
is.
they say, oh shit, she can't drop the accent. She's British. But everybody's a character. Nobody is marginalized. Like, there's no stupid kid. The woman isn't the stupid one. There's nobody who's like the shit heel.
Right. There's only one faint.
Yeah, which is amazing. And it's earned, because
Yeah.
she doesn't look at the bird and collapse.
No, she's like, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can just fuck it.
Yeah, it's make it until you can't, and what she does. But that's the great thing. It's like,
her corset was just too tight.
yeah, there was all the blood flow to the brain and all the scary chicken nonsense and whatever. But yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody once. Everybody lobs accusations. Well, you're a Confederate dude, and you're this, you're that. And everyone's like, hey man, that may be true, but I'm still cool.
Yeah.
And that's what happens every time. Nemo, when he comes out, and they're like, you're a terrible murderer. And he's like, well, take this in context. These pirates were going to kill you. So... And they're like, you got us.
Yeah, I'll bite my tongue this time, Nemo.
Yeah, all right, Nemo, but
This
watch
time.
yourself.
Yeah. Well, so your favorite character was the Southerner.
Loved him.
My favorite character was the British girl's dress. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite character in the whole movie.
I knew that was going to happen. As soon as the old dowager says, you know what?
Actually, ever since I was a little kid, I think I've always, like, I literally, like, in all the weird sections of all my DVD organizing, I've got a Disney section, I've got, a Harryhausen section. No, I have a second copy of this movie just so that I can put it right next to Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, because Herbert Lom is James fucking Mason.
It was,
That's how my head works.
It's a beautiful tapestry of insanity
Yep, and it works.
that works.
Yep.
Like every other thing that we've seen in this, it's not even the same genre. It's like the same cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Misfits end up on an island. There's crazy shit there. This is such a bizarre cornucopia of barf greens and insane browns mixed with all the beautiful colors of the tropical rainforest. And you're like, how can this work? But by the end, you're like...
So it's the regurgitated pizza picture of movies, but somebody turned it into art.
Yeah. It's like this is the morning after the party where there's a pile of puke on Mill Avenue, right? And someone comes and lays a wreath of flowers on it and says, you know what? It's what I can do, and it made it better.
And somebody else is standing next to it is like, I got a story for this.
Yes, exactly. It's the dead deer on the side of the road that someone puts a happy birthday balloon on. It's as good as you can get from what this is.
It's true. All right, let's leave it there. So, are you still running? Amazing.